Hello and welcome back, guys. So in this one, we're looking at SQL injection. So how can somebody inject an SQL query into your database and get the data they are not supposed to see? Okay, so check the link in the description for the code for this current website I'm viewing now. So it's the same code as the previous video, but I've added a few extra things. So what I've added is, if now I click on read more, it takes me to a single post here. And then I have a logout page now. If I log out, then I am no longer logged in anymore. And if I go to posts, I don't have access there anymore. Okay, so pretty good. Let's look at the logout page here, and what we have in it is just we destroy the session. This is a very lazy way of logging somebody out, but it will work for our purposes. And then we redirect the user back to the home page once we do that. Okay, so easy peasy. So what we are trying to attack here is our login page. Now, SQL injection can be done in many ways. Usually in a form like this one, and sometimes in the URL like that one, because this is for the post when we try to post something, and here when we try to use the get variables. So there are other ways you can do it apart from these two, which we'll see in later videos. But for now, let's concentrate on the posting version here. So let's see what somebody can do in a situation like this. Now, our system is already protected, so let's remove the protections that exist. Now, like I said, protection is multi-layered. So you have to do several things just to protect yourself in one way. So you don't have to rely on one method. You have to do several things at a time to make sure that if they break through one layer, there's another layer. So let's go to our login page here and see what we can see. So if I come down here, actually, there's nothing to see here because we are going to the login class here. So we're going to go to the functions page and look at the login class in the user, the login function, sorry, in the user class. So here, the first level of protection we have is this filter var, because we are checking to make sure that what was submitted is a valid email. Now, we are also checking in the login page itself. If I go down here, I have told it, this is text, sorry, but on yours, it will probably be email like that. I have told it to check that this is a valid email, but this isn't sufficient protection because somebody can easily bypass this. They can just open their console and edit this. So let's assume they've edited it. So let's put it back at text. So this is better protection because it's on the server side. They can't edit this code. So let's remove this protection for a second and see what would happen without it. We'll leave the password one, that's okay, because we don't really need it. And then there's also add slashes here, which is a second layer of protection. So I'm going to remove this as well. Then I'll show you what it actually does. So let's remove that. And the rest is okay. We can actually successfully run an SQL injection in a situation like this. Now, it's also important to put quotation marks in your queries like this for every variable, because it reduces the chances of hacking. It makes it slightly harder, but it's not real protection as you're going to see, but it helps. So let's see how we can inject this system here. Now, the point of an injection is to look at this query the way it is here, and then try to manipulate it so that it does something else. For example, here it's asking for an email and a password. So if I'm clever, I can simply just inject a comment here, because in MySQL, if you put two dashes like that, that means the rest of the string is completely useless because it's a comment. It's the same thing if I put a hash like so, the rest of it is a comment. So I can do that here, or I can put an or here instead of an and. You see there's and here, right? It means both the email and the password must be correct. But if somehow I inject and here, like that, right? And then I effectively comment the rest of it out. Or not, and actually, if I put or, and then just put a very useless comparison, like 1 is equal to 1, like that. Okay? So forget about the quotes for now here. It'll say where email is equal to email, so we have this email, right? And then here we'll say or 1 is equal to 1, and then forget about the rest of this. Now 1 will always be equal to 1, so this will always return true. And then the email, if I already know the email of the user I want to get, let's say it's the admin, then I can simply add their email address here and I'll be logged in, because this query is going to return the admin's account here. So let's see how we can do that. Now to do this, I'm going to just echo out the query here so that we can see what we have done. And I'll tell it to die, like so. Okay, so let's go back to our login page. Now here, because I require a password for the checking there, so I'll just type anything. But then on the email, this is where I need to be clever. I am going to type this. So I'll say john@yahoo.com or 1 is equal to 1, and then comment out the rest of it. So let's see how well this works. I'll copy this and let's log in. Now, this is the query that was created. Now, as you can see, this really wouldn't work because it's going to look, it will say where email is equal to john@yahoo.com or 1 is equal to 1. So all of this is going to be regarded as the email, and it won't find this email. So it's just going to abort this. But if we go back, let's try something different. If we put quotation marks cleverly here and there, and then I can put, I don't know, I can put another quote here and put a hash somewhere, or even just this by itself. Let's try this. Log in. So here, look at what has happened. There's select all from users where email is equal to John, correct? So this is going to be found. And then there's an or statement here. Now, because of the quotes we've added here, we've effectively put the or out of the quotation marks like that. So or 1 is equal to 1. I don't even need the quotes here. Actually, with the quotes, it means something else. So regardless, the point is that this is an or statement now, meaning anything after the or doesn't really matter. For as long as this is true, it doesn't matter what's here, it's going to return a result. So let's see how that happens. So I'm just going to remove this, save that, and let's refresh and see what happens. Resend. And as you can see, I've been logged in. If I go to posts now, I can see my posts because I have been logged in. So I've successfully injected some SQL into my my app here. So how can we prevent this? So here I had said we add slashes here. So let's say add slashes there, like so. So what exactly does add slashes do? Well, if I go to the top of the page, let's say the login page, let me come back here before I lose track of this. Okay, we are there. If I go to my login page here, at the very top, I want to show this. So let's say we have a variable called A and its content is John's name, something like that. So the point is to have a quotation mark in there. Let's just put one more for the heck of it. So what I will do now is to echo out A, right? Like so. Easy peasy. So if I come back here to the login page, you will see that there is John's name here as expected. But if I add slashes instead, so if I put it inside that function, this is what happens. So if I refresh, so you see now it looks for all the special characters and adds this slash here. Now what this does is that every time the software sees a slash like this, it will know that the next character after the slash is a literal character. It has no special meaning. it's not part of the query, but it's part of the variable. So any special characters will be escaped. So if I had a slash over here, like so, wait, like that, even that slash will be slashed as well. Let's try and put a hash and those as well. Let's see which of these will be slashed, right? Refresh. So you see this will be slashed, that will be slashed. Even the slash has a slash of its own, and that has a slash of its own. So this is why it's important to put quotes around your variables, because if you then use add slashes, it means the quotes inside the quotes in the variable will be slashed, which means your actual quotes will remain as quotes. Now this is not slashed and that is not slashed either. So if you are using MySQL, this is where you would use the other function, which is MySQL real escape. I think it's real escape string or something. MySQL real escape, something like this. So you can Google what this means. I never actually use it myself because sometimes I don't use MySQL to connect. So I use PDO. So this is pointless for me, but you can Google it and see how useful that function is for such things. Okay, so that's one layer of protection. Now the second layer of protection here, if we go to the function here, is this part here where we check to see if it's really an email that was supplied. So in this case, regardless what the SQL injection was trying to be, it's going to be rejected because it's not a valid email. So this is very powerful right here. So there are other checks you can do. You should always make sure that the data you're receiving is what you expect. So if you expect a number, make sure you use is numeric, for example, like so, to check if the number you've been given, the variable you've been given, is really numeric. So you check this returns a true or false. If it's a number, it will be true. If it's not, it will be false. So this way you ensure that you are receiving an actual number. Another thing you can do is to cast the variables that you receive. If you're expecting an integer, for example, just put int at the very end here. So you can say var is equal to int var, like that. So what you're effectively doing is converting it to a number. So if this was text, it will just go to a number again. So let's see that in action real quick here. So I'm just going to say var is equal to 10, for example. So I'm just going to echo this like that. So let's go back to our login page, refresh, and you see the number remains as 10. But what happens if I do that instead? So what do we do? You see it returns a 0 and doesn't return the actual text. So regardless what I type in there, it's going to be ignored and converted to a number, which in this case will be 0. So casting variables like this can also help you protect yourself. All right, so let's test our system now, as with all this protection that we've added here. Now I must mention the last way to protect yourself is to add prepared statements. So we're going to talk about those in a later video. But for now, let's test this and see if it actually works. So I am going to refresh my page and then try this again. 1 is equal to 1. Type something there and hit login. So you see here I just get wrong email or password. So that has successfully failed because it doesn't even get to the SQL part. It's rejected right around here. Okay, so if it did get here, those add slashes are going to kick in and do their job. And always make sure that you have the quotes around your query like that, so that the hacker is forced to add quotes as well. And then once they add those quotes, then you can add slashes to those quotes, effectively neutralizing them. All right, so I hope you have learned something here. In the next video, we're going to see how this area can be hacked as well, this single post, using the query string in there, the URL. I'll see you in the next video.